Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is MizukiArts, and today we're going to be redrawing my old artwork from 2018. Specifically, we're going to be redesigning my cringy OC and giving her some new life. You guys can see this old artwork's got a lot to be improved upon, especially being since it was like nearly 3 years ago. And just so you guys don't give up hope on me, here's some of my newer art. I think I've improved a lot. I don't know, I'm proud of it. So let's just get right into it. Just a little bit of background. We're going to be designing both the more, I guess, fantasy version of her as well as her normal outfit, because they're both important to her story. For a little bit of context, her original storyline was that she was supposed to be kind of the shy character, which doesn't really go with her appearance quite at all, actually. I had essentially designed her to be just the quiet friend amongst a group of characters I had designed that were supposed to be in a storyline about being sent to another world through one's dreams. And essentially in this other world, each of the girls were fantasy creatures or fantasy warriors or whatever you might want to call them. Violet specifically was a siren-like creature. However, she had legs, which is kind of weird. I think I had originally wanted all the girls to travel together throughout this world on their quests or whatever. I didn't really get very far into the writing of this, obviously, but essentially she was a siren with legs. But in this design, or at least when I get around to designing the fantasy version, I'm going to change that. But regardless, I had drawn her to wear darker clothing in the regular world, because her older sister was less than reputable, and she thought that was what people expected of her. She thought she was expected to be just like her sister, essentially. I think back when I was onto something, when I wanted to make this character someone who cared a lot about what people expected from her. But I think now it's probably better to kind of work off of the opposite, where she is maybe not having the courage to deflect from what people say about her family, and about her sister, where essentially she does like darker clothes, and it's not something she does just to blend in. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but that's just how I pictured it. I thought it would be funny since she in the world used a bow as a weapon, to just give her a stick and some string in the regular world, essentially to show the difference in the power she has there and what she has here. And essentially it's kind of, I keep saying essentially, why am I doing that? Oh my gosh. But anyways, it's just I guess a motif or something for her difference in confidence here versus in the dream world. I also gave her some really adorable round glasses. I'm not sure why. I think I just thought they looked cute, and I don't regret it. So I found myself really enjoying this process simply because there's something so satisfying about taking something that's bothered me for so long about my old art and kind of improving upon it. In terms of storyline, in terms of design, and overall this character is just a lot more endearing as I'm working on her. She went from kind of being edgy and sad for no reason to being artsy, and you know, she's shy and she's working on it. So while I'm drawing this, I'm sort of making peace with the idea that I haven't improved at art or something, because I do feel myself improving as I'm drawing this, because I remember what I was thinking when I was drawing the original pieces and how I felt and what I was thinking about, and just seeing how much I changed internally as well as what my hands are able to do now versus then being vastly changed. For a long time, I've been feeling like I've been stuck in a rut in terms of my style, and especially what's being shown on YouTube for my art, simply because working in premises for my videos kind of limits how much I express myself in the illustrations in them, and they almost come out kind of bland sometimes, and I got frustrated with that. But I come to peace with it when I'm thinking about how much I have come and how my art journey is still going, and I think that's really special. And especially in projects like this where I'm redesigning something from only 3 years ago. Like 3 years ago I made the original drawing for this. It really reminds me like, hey, I'm not a professional yet. I don't have to get it all perfect. Speaking of not getting things perfect, just ignore the music notes here. Again, I think originally the character had liked to sing or really liked music. I don't really remember, to be honest, but anyways, I don't know anything about music. I don't really listen to music. I have never played an instrument aside of like a recorder in the 4th grade or something. So don't judge me on the music notes. I have no idea if these are even actually how real notes look. So just ignore that. Yeah, I guess that's one way to end a rant. Anyways, at this point I was starting to kind of ink in the accessories that I'd drawn around her. And something you'll notice on like her phone case and on her sketchbook, actually, there are like stickers that say broke. This was kind of a joke because I think on her original shirt design it said like broken or something, but one time I only had enough room for the letters like for broke. I didn't have room for the N, so it just said broke on her t-shirt. And I decided to work this in to her new design because it was just too funny to leave out. The fact that I had even designed her original shirt to say something so edgy, like, oh yeah, she's emotionally unstable, so her shirt should say it. And I just thought that was like fine back then, is like hilarious to begin with, but the fact that I didn't have room for all the letters for one of the drawings is just hilarious to me. So if you see like a weird unexplained badge or sticker on a couple of her objects that say broke, that's why. That's it. That's all there is to it. I know her outfit looks kind of boring in comparison, considering I did put that kind of weird detail into her objects. You'd think I'd like put a little more effort into her clothes, but I made them pretty simple looking because here's why. Okay, so character design is supposed to be very simple and iconic, and I wanted to like communicate as much of her story as I possibly can with as few elements as I can. 'Cause if I were to ever draw this again, obviously replicating details would be very difficult and very time consuming. Even though I didn't spend a lot of time thinking about like elements of character design such as shape language, here's the kind of hints that you get for her story in her outfit. She has on a pleated skirt with like lace at the edge, which is sort of a hint at her like darker interest in fashion, but she's wearing like a baggy sweater, and I thought that would imply the hand-me-down element because maybe the sweaters are a little too big or a little loose or a little worn, so it kind of implies that maybe the clothes she has passed down from her sister, well, were passed down from her sister instead of just, you know, her own clothes. So really I liked a lot about this better than her old outfit because it really did show a lot more of her, and that maybe her taste in clothing, while still maybe containing darker colors, was a lot more mild than her sister's fashion would have been, simply because I had planned to give her sister a taste for like a lot of punky metal stuff. And now it's onto the hair, arguably the part that changed the most about this character, as it did drastically change her shape language, and she went from having very, very blocky hair to a softer hair that's still very blocky, I think. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do until I just brought out the brushes again and started painting, but I knew I wanted it to have something to do with like fun dye and colors, simply because she already had this like bluish black hair in the original. And I decided I'd make like the fringe at her face to be kind of purpley, like she had dyed it, and the rest of it would be black, similar to how I wanted her gloves, the stripes on her socks, as well as her skirt to look. Surprisingly, working with the black was actually the trickiest part of this whole drawing because it is darker than my line art, and getting that to look good and for it to not look like her hair's just gray was rather important to me. I think it still has quite a grayish hue at the end, you'll see, but I think I did a good job making it look like it's meant to be black at the very least. It's always a tricky thing about watercolors because they don't always look like how you want them to when you lay them down, but I think it's an interesting challenge and it suits me better than, say, working with markers does, because I don't think I'm quite confident enough for that medium. I knew since her hair was sort of a magenta color, I needed to work some more purple into her design, so I added some stripes with a colored pencil in on her sweater and went straight in with some nice lavendery tones for the actual like fabric color, and I think it looks really, really nice, and it certainly helps with that soft silhouette I was going for, and it suits her personality so much better than the old design's harsh edges. Also made sure to add in lots of different shades of purple so that she would look really, really purple themed, I guess, as her original design certainly had that feel to it. And I added in some like seafoam green just as a final kind of contrasting touch, and I decided on that for her eye color as well. And finally, we can call the first piece for this video done. I think this redesign suits her so much better, and as a character, I'm actually warming up to her again. I didn't really like her old version because it felt so weird and edgy, because she was just like, you know, the stereotypical emo sad girl. And this feels a lot more authentic, and I feel like maybe it would make any kind of viewer, or I guess just witness to her story, sympathize with her a lot more, just because her design makes sense with who she is. Now we are on to the second design for this character, essentially the design that she takes on in the dream world, I guess we'd call it. Essentially, she's like a siren in this world, and she has an immense amount of power. She wields like a water bow, which I know sounds strange, but I'm working out the magic system as I was designing this, so it might be a little clunky sounding to explain it. In this alternate dimension, Violet has a lot more confidence because, of course, she has so much more power in it, and she overcomes obstacles with that power, and in the end of the story, the characters have to decide if they want to stay in the dream world or in the real world, and some choose the dream world and some choose the real world. But what's interesting about Violet's story is that I had planned her to choose to stay in the dream world because her reality was she didn't feel like she belonged in the real world. But for the remake, I decided it would be a lot more touching and lighthearted if she chose to go back to the real world. And you might be wondering, why would she choose to leave a world where she's essentially a goddess? And, well, for character development purposes, I think it's a lot more touching and authentic for a character to choose to take the confidence that they learned in this other world and face their real challenges. I think it says a lot more about a character if they choose to face the reality that they're most scared of. And obviously, if she can learn to overcome those challenges as she did the ones in the dream world, she can come to peace with her family and with her responsibilities there, and maybe become a happier person overall. And I think that's just the best way to kind of write her backstory now. I only just realized I've barely talked about what's on screen at all. So I gave this version of Violet a tail instead of the previous version having like weird legs with like fins attached to them. I know this would like separate her from her other friends in her journey, simply because her other friends are other creatures that are not water-bound, but I think learning some independence and learning confidence are both important parts for her character development, so I think it's really special that I get to kind of explore that with like her design itself. I also knew for this version of her I wanted a skin tone change, simply because I do remember imagining the I guess Dreamworld version of Violet in the previous design having like a bluish gray skin, but I decided like Violet would be much prettier and would suit her very well, because I'd give her a complementary color for her hair that was kind of similar but a little more on the blue side, while as her skin I made kind of a pinkish lavendery color. I tried to also work in lots of pretty turquoise tones, but I didn't want it to be too overpowering because the whole blue equals water thing is a bit overdone in my opinion. Like, even though I wanted to use that as kind of an accent, I still knew I wanted this character to be very light and airy and include a lot more purple hues, and I wanted that to still be the first thing that people kind of associate with this character. And as always, for a final touch, I added in lots of sparkly white gel pen, just to make sure that it really pops and she looks like very shiny and scaly and pretty. I always think that it must look to people like I'm ruining my work by just scribbling all over it with the gel pen, but I honestly really enjoy it and it's one of the most fun parts. And with that, we can call her redesign done. This was definitely one of my cringiest early OCs, if not the cringiest. If you want me to redesign more characters, please let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and support me on Ko-fi if you can. You can commission me, or you can buy my printable paper doll, or even just follow me on there. That would be really fun. You certainly don't have to feel pressured to spend money in order to support me. Be sure to take care of yourselves and have a beautiful day. Bye!